Hi everyone, I'm Kale Kettle. Welcome to this week's The Book Chain Project. This week, Sarah Ann Juckes chats with Sheila Averbuch, author of Friend Me, which is a sort of teen middle grade techno thriller, and they have a lot in common. If you've read Sarah's latest book, which touches on virtual reality and cloistered worlds, then there's a lot of similarities. So stick with us. There'll be some added extras at the end, of course, as usual. Please subscribe and like, comment and share, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hi everyone. So this is my first time being live on Instagram Live, which is very exciting. This is something that we are doing for the Book Chain Project. Last week you might have seen me talking before. And we've got Sheila M Averbuch joining us just now. Sent a request here. Let's see if I can work out how to do this. Hi Sheila, hey! Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for hosting. This is so good of you.
Yeah, well, it's my absolute pleasure, and I'm so looking forward to talking about Friend Me in this, which is an incredible middle grade thriller. So I'm really looking forward to that, and yeah, what a great opportunity to connect and kind of bring our two worlds together as well, which is so nice. So do you want to start things off just by talking a little bit about you and your book and the kind of background there?
I'll show the book. This is Friend Me. I'm super excited because it's my debut, never been published until now. It came out in November last year with Scholastic Press. So Friend Me was actually I think it was my 6th manuscript. But as you said, it's a middle grade thriller, which I didn't really know was a thing until people started reading it saying, I think this is a thriller. It's about a bullied girl whose bully has a bad accident. And then she starts to worry that her new best friend, who she's only met online, might have caused the accident. So it's got lots of twists, lots of tech, kind of obviously, cyberbullying, phones, but also some near future stuff like bullet trains. There's a robotic cat, which you might remember if you've remembered Fred the cat.
Yeah, and the cat is actually one of the first things we see, isn't it, from that futuristic kind of technology world in the book. So actually on the technology side, so it includes quite a lot of this kind of near future technology. So did your background as kind of, because your background as a journalist, did any of that kind of influence anything on that?
It really did. I said that I had written other manuscripts, but Friend Me was a departure for me because it was the first time that I united my 25 years as a technology journalist with writing for kids. And actually, I think maybe that's one reason it found a place with a publisher, is because Friend Me comes at a time when childhood has become so technologized. It could be a baby playing with mommy or daddy's iPhone just to keep the baby happy, or it could be an 11-year-old who's too young for Instagram who uses Instagram. So yes, definitely what I saw in my technology journalist life totally influenced Friend Me. Both the stuff that I see is available now and stuff that I know is coming soon.
Yeah, that's really interesting actually, especially on that kind of bringing it to a kind of childhood audience as well. So how important was that to kind of include technology with children and kind of looking at the kind of the pros and cons of that actually in the book, and kind of that level of how technology can be really good and also quite negative in some way as well, especially when kind of bullying comes into it.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I am by no means a technophobe. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not anti-technology. And in fact, I started writing about technology in the 90s, and I was super pro-technology. And it was only as we could see how things started to take hold, really with the start of Google and Facebook and Instagram and social media in particular, that I could see the effect on young teen and tween and teen lives and self-confidence and image. So yes, this technology allows us to connect with people who are similar to us when we might struggle to find a community who care about the same things we care about in our immediate vicinity. However, we have to be aware that these tools, as somebody said, we have developed this super advanced artificial intelligence, these phones, and then we've turned it and faced it at ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's us that the technology is kind of mining for our information and insights. But, I'm by no means somebody who said, don't let you know, kids use technology because it's there. What's the point of saying, you know, it's taboo?
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I'm really interested in as well. In my book, The World Between Us, and I kind of made up is it called Streamcast, a kind of a way for people to kind of stream stuff on that. So how did you come up with the names for your stuff? Because it's all kind of, it feels very familiar. The naming of your technology aspects all feels quite familiar. So how did you go about naming those?
I want to say about, I would say the same thing for A World Between Us. Streamcast feels like, oh, is that a real thing? Oh no, she made that up, but it feels so real. And that's exactly what I mean. In World Between Us, you have people who have a chronic illness and they're connecting with each other, or they're connecting with other people who are willing to stream their lives for them, and people who are bedbound can take part in that. So probably similar to you, I looked at what things were already called, and I just tried to riff on it. Actually, the big app in FriendMe is called UChat, and originally in an early draft I called it WeChat, but that's a real social media platform, so I couldn't use that, so I just made it be UChat. But I just looked at the functionality that exists in things like, you know, Instagram and House Party and things where people are chatting, and said, well, what would I call it? As I said, I worked as a technology journalist, but I also work as a technology copywriter for ad agencies. So I'm thinking, what would be a snappy name to call these apps? So,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, any one of those could be a real app that someone could use. So in the future, you might even find that someone makes something similar to the stuff we see in there. Like, I can totally see some of those things being real. Hopefully not all of the things, not to be too spoilery there, but there's some things in there we hope not to see in real life. But yeah, that's so interesting. So the other side of Friend Me, it's about a character, Roisin, who's moved from Ireland to Massachusetts. So did you draw on your own experience of moving between the US and the UK there, because your background has been split between Ireland and Scotland, is that right as well?
That's right. My father was actually born in Glasgow, raised in Ireland, and I was raised in Massachusetts. And as soon as I got a chance, I wanted to visit Ireland and my father's country without being a tourist. So I moved there for 1 year to Ireland from the US when I was 21, and then I just never went back. I spent 12 years in Ireland, and then and we moved here in 2003. So I've been here even longer than I was in Ireland. I've gone totally native on Europe. This is where I love to live, but I still have very strong connections with America. That's where my family is, and that's where the 12-year-old Sheila is. And so when I started to write my manuscripts, they were almost all set in something like Massachusetts, because that's how I kind of, as a writer, accessed that mindset. But as for the mindset of being an immigrant, where you get plunged into a new environment, although I was familiar with Ireland from having spent family holidays there, I distinctly remember that, being a 21-year-old, and everything was alien to me. The food, I missed American food. I missed American friends. My clothes were strange. I used all the wrong vocabulary. I think it's Bill Bryson who talks about, UK and Ireland and America as being countries, divided by a common language. Because yes, we all speak English, but there seemed to be a different word for everything when I moved to Ireland. And do I have Roisin doing that? But certainly people saying Roisin's name wrong. No one ever said Sheila wrong when I went to Ireland, but people always get, Irish names like Roisin and Niamh and Maeve. They can't be said correctly outside of Ireland, it seems.
Yeah, and it's actually so funny when you start talking about Ireland, your accent goes Irish. I don't know whether you get taught that a lot.
Especially when I say the word Ireland. I can't say Ireland. I find it hard to say it the way I used to say it.
Yeah, but actually all of that is so true, because when it's reading your book, all of that really comes through. Is like, oh, okay, can really feel this kind of like a very real sense of displacement in everything, in the clothes, in the food, in the language and everything, and bringing that into the world of how old is Roisin in the book? She's
12. She's 12.
Yeah, so she's going through like quite big changes, and then she's got all of that coming in as well, which is so interesting. And actually, it's interesting that she's 12 and this is a middle grade book, because as you said before, like, we don't really see thrillers that often in middle grade. So what drew you to writing the genre of a thriller for a middle grade? Like, is that something that you you read a lot of thrillers and it kind of found its way naturally into your writing, or?
I had never written a thriller before. It's just how this one came out. As I said, there's lots of twists and lots of tech in this, and the central twist of it came to me, and I knew that it was going to have to be a thriller when I was going to write it. But it's so difficult to know how much. Whenever you're writing a mystery, you know from the beginning how it's going to go, but you're not sure how and when to leave clues. And are you leaving too many clues, or are you tantalizing the reader, or are you confusing them and frustrating them, and it's going to switch off? But I have to say, I think it came, the genre of thriller came with the concept.
Yeah. Are you aware of any more now? Because I was trying to think of any other thrillers that I knew for middle grade. Do you know of any others?
I have that as a saved search, actually, and I can't find any others. I always look into them and see, is it a middle grade thriller? No, it isn't really. But there are lots of fantastic kind of mysteries. Sharna Jackson wrote the High Rise Mystery and that whole series, Mic Drop. I love those. Of course, Robin Stevens has historical mysteries, Murder Most Unladylike. But there aren't ones that I would describe as thriller where it's really page-turny. But I really wanted to go for that middle grade Michael Crichton. Can we do that? Can we have that mix of like technology taking over our lives, maybe not in the best way, but really to give my friend Sarah Baker says that your only job as a writer is to get them to keep turning the page. And that's what I really wanted, to have that propulsion.
And you do it so well as well. Like,
thank you.
It's just, you just can't stop turning the pages. So, I mean, obviously, like, every writer wants to come at a book and keep their readers turning pages. That's what we're all trying to do.
Are you a fan of The Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Divergent, or Maximum Ride? Why not try the Unadjusteds trilogy? 16-year-old Silver Melody lives in a world where 80% of the population has modified their DNA. When the president declares all unadjusteds must take a nanite, Silver has no choice but to flee the city with her father and prevent the extinction of the unadjusteds. But when her father is captured, Silver must band together with an unlikely group of friends and discover the secrets of her own genetic code.
So what are your tips for writers, any writer of any genre? What are your kind of tips for writing something that readers just cannot stop reading? Because you do it so well in Friend Me.
Thank you. Really focus on the final image of each chapter. I don't just mean the visual image, but like the emotional moment. Leave it at a place that is believable, that it's not manufactured tension, but that is one step of things becoming worse and worse and worse for your character. I'm sure you've heard, put your character in a hole and then throw rocks at them. So just when the character is feeling the thump of the next rock, that's when I have the chapter break. And so you want the reader to think, oh no, oh no, oh no. So really focusing on the chapter endings is a big thing.
Yeah. No, that's such a good tip actually as well. So actually, I mean, talking about kind of the writing side of it, what does your average writing day look like? Because you're still working, are you, as a kind of day job? Are you still a journalist at the moment? Yeah.
I work as a technology copywriter mostly now, but using journalistic skills. I do high-level blogging for companies, and I write brochures and stuff. But my writing day is very regular. Now that the kids are back on the bus, schooling away from home, it can start when it should, which is at 8 o'clock. So from 8 to 11:30, I would work on fiction, and then I, take a breath and a cup of tea, and then I start my technology copywriting day. The other job I have apart from technology copywriting is I'm a social media manager for a book prize. So that's great because I partly get, paid to talk about books, but I have to leave the fiction Sheila at 11:30 and start doing the other work.
Yeah, it must be a shame sometimes to leave that, especially if you're in the zone and then you have to kind of stop and go, okay, I need to do my other work now.
Exactly. Have you heard of this book called Rest by Alex Pang?
No, Rest.
It's nonfiction, and I've just finished listening to it. Absolutely fantastic. And he talks about the value of rest and naps and sabbaticals and the value of stopping in the middle. So because 11:30 is my hard stop, I absolutely stop, even if it's in the middle of a sentence.
Oh.
And since listening to this Rest book, I feel less bad about doing that. Because it kind of primes the brain to carry on and not have that kind of, sentence grooming that you get at the beginning of the next day's work. Because you were literally in the middle of the sentence, you just keep going. So yes, Rest by Alex Pang will get you into the mood of stopping.
I've never heard of that before. Like I always have to finish a chapter before, and then you're absolutely right, because the next day I'll come and sit down and be like, what am I writing today? I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's such a good tip, actually. And it's called Rest. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, Rest by Alex Pang. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've written that. That's really cool. So when you're so this is something that Andreina and I were talking about last week. If you kind of do hit that wall and you're not too sure what it is that you're writing, what is it for you that kind of gets you out of that and keeps you kind of writing and onto that next page? What is it that kind of beats your writer's block, as it were?
I'm not going to say I've never had writer's block, but I only had it once. I don't usually get it when I'm in the midst of something. Because I can feel 11:30 coming at me like a freight train, I always just go in a panic and just go, 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 go. I did get a terrible writer's block once when I was feeling really, really, really low. And what I did in that case was I still went to my desk at 8 o'clock and I worked till 11:30, but I did something else creative. Do I have it here? I have a book of monologues that I used to use when I was an actor. My first couple of years living in Ireland, I was working as an actor. So I would just read monologues, or I would sketch, or I was studying Japanese, but I just tried to protect that writing time, doing things that were good for me and feeding my creativity. And then at least when the writing impulse came back and I didn't feel so low anymore, the writing time was still there and it had been protected, and the world hadn't come in and crushed it and taken it away to do, mummy things or other work things. So yeah, I suppose when I had that block, it's just protect that writing time, but do something else creative.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, I always find that when I'm staying in that creative space, my kind of writing head is doing stuff in the background as well, like thinking problems through and things like that when you're doing that kind of thing. So that's so important in doing that. Did you say learn Japanese?
I did, yeah. One of the characters in Friend Me, who fortunately is on the cover, Lily. Lily is the very kind of fashionable, super popular girl, and our girl Roisin, our main character, Lily's trying to befriend her, although Roisin doesn't realize that. And Lily is Japanese American. And I thought, well, I might have a little Japanese in this, so I should learn some Japanese. And in the end, my friend who is Japanese said, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but the Japanese you've included in there, you have to take it all out, because it would not be normal for Japanese people to rudely speak Japanese in front of people that they know don't speak Japanese, especially if they're their guests. They would never do that. So, and she said also, sorry to tell you this, but it all kind of sounds really, really basic, like you'd get in a learning Japanese course. I'm like, that's because that's where it came from. It was from my learning Japanese tape. But anyway, I wanted to enter into the world of Lily a little bit. So yeah, I learned Japanese.
Yeah, and did you find it helped kind of get into the mindset of Lily when you were doing that?
I think it helped me even more get into the mindset of Lily's mom, because Lily's mom and Roisin's mom are AI and robotics people. And Lily's mom is the immigrant from Japan who's living in America. So it helped me get into the mindset of a different kind of immigrant, because Lily's mom and Roisin, of course, are both strangers to America. So it definitely helped me. But did you know that you can ask your Alexa, if you have an Alexa, which we do, you can say, Alexa, teach me Japanese, and it will just teach you Japanese. So I'm on lesson like 13 now of Alexa Japanese. See, the technology's not so bad. It's not all bad.
I didn't know that. That's really, I'm going to go back in now and do that exact same. Teach me Japanese. That's really cool. That's great that you can do that. That's really cool. So just kind of circling back actually a little bit to the kind of character side of the Roisin and stuff. So one of the things, the kind of themes in this is loneliness, and kind of how when Roisin does move over, she feels really lonely when she moves to this new school. She's got no friends. So how important is this theme and versus kind of friendship for you in your writing?
My main memory of middle school is loneliness, isolation, and the application of smartphones and social media in Roisin's world has only just deepened that isolation. I mean, I remember, the middle school, we called it intermediate school in Massachusetts, middle school, going to the dance. It was the first time that they would have dances. And of course, nobody wanted to dance with Sheila. So what I would do is I would go into the bathroom when the slow song came on, Led Zeppelin or whatever it was in the 80s, and I would put on more black eyeliner. And I just remember standing there, putting on more black eyeliner in the bathroom. And this was just emblematic of my middle school life. Alone, alone, alone. I mean, I had people I was friendly with, but I didn't really have any deep friendships until I was a couple years into high school. So yeah, friendship and loneliness are kind of the same thing. I think especially for, I'm sure it's the case for younger boys as well, or tween boys, but tween girls to me seem particularly keen to find a friendship group in which they can define themselves. And the lack of that for Roisin, I wanted to really look at, maybe because that was, 12-year-old Sheila.
Yeah, no, completely. And it's such an important thing to put into books for young people, because you're absolutely right. I mean, especially for young girls. I mean, I'm saying that myself as someone who was a young girl, but it's such a universal theme that I think everyone deals with at that age. And actually that's the kind of side of things on Friendly as well, the kind of bullying side. So what message is it that you're hoping that young people, when they're reading Friendly, kind of take away from the book?
If there's a person who's being bullied who reads Friendly, or if there's a person who is witnessing bullying who's reading Friendly, I'll hope that they will say something, do something. The only thing I would hope they wouldn't do is stay silent and just let the status quo stay that way. If you are being bullied, the strength of your bully comes from your silence. They're hoping you're not going to say anything. They'll threaten you maybe not to say anything, or they'll just make you feel like you can't tell anyone. And that we see Roisin struggling to open up and tell her brother, or even to tell, Lily what's happening. And it's really hard. So if someone's being bullied and reading this, what I would say is don't give up. Keep trying to tell someone, because you shouldn't have to go through this alone. And if you are somebody who's witnessing bullying, as I did, I wish I had said something in that, middle school. When bystanders step in, bullying often stops or is minimized. That's all that's required, is for one person to say something, leave her alone, leave them alone. And it's much less likely to happen again. So that's my hope for people reading Friendly.
Such good advice as well, actually, as well. And I used to do a bit of work with the NSPCC, and that was exactly the message that we used to kind of take out to children as well, is that kind of speak to people, make sure you're speaking up, use your voice, try and make people listen, make grown-ups listen. If they don't listen the first time, make them listen again. And so that is super important. And what a great message as well to put in a book like that. Is that something that you're exploring with your future books? What is it that you're working on at the moment? Can you say?
It's funny that you should ask, because I had a bit of a block when I was revising my next manuscript. My next manuscript is also, again, about technology ruining tween lives. Okay. Very much inspired by my day job, writing about advanced technology and what's coming down the line in a couple years' time. But I was having a problem in the revision, and I said, what have I written this week for clients? And I looked and I said, oh yeah. And something directly pulled from my day job I was able to put into the climax of the manuscript I'm working on now. But so it's a similar thing. It's technology making tweens miserable, but this time it's much more about selfies and self-image. So I think that selfies have not done any good for tweens' vision of themselves. We were never meant to look, at ourselves as much as we are encouraged to do by social media apps who want us to put up selfies and pictures of ourselves dancing or whatever.
Yeah, completely. And actually, I mean, this year, through the whole pandemic, with everyone communicating on video calls, you're just constantly I am tired of looking at my own face by now. It's just there all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of been highlighted, this idea that, you always have that camera focused on you, even just right now as we're talking. I mean,
and I can see my own face. I don't know what you think about yours, but I am by no means this unwrinkled. Like, I'm much more wrinkled than I appear here, but the default is filtered.
Yeah.
Filtered self-image. So what does that do? I'm 51. What does that do to me? I'm entering a stage of life where I am getting quite wrinkled. I would rather see the real me. But what does that do to a 12-year-old girl or 13-year-old girl who prefers the filtered self because that's what she's being presented to as a default all the time? These things worry me.
Yeah, and that's actually, oh my God, such an important book that you're writing there by the sound of it, Sheila. Like, oh my God. So is this one also going to have the kind of near future technology side of it as well? Yeah,
definitely. It's supposed to, again, as in Friend Me, I want this technology to feel familiar but just a little more intrusive. So like with the cat in Friend Me, I wanted a sign very upfront that technology is in Roisin's life, but having your family pet literally be a robot, this is the kind of thing we want, the kind of slight Black Mirror vibe where technology has come so far into our homes and our home life that, we almost don't realize how surreal or, inhuman that has made our homes.
Yeah, completely. And it's really funny because, most of the stuff that we've in your book is already in our homes up to a certain extent, but maybe just not. I mean, we might not have a robotic family pet, but we've got kind of other robots that are there to essentially make us feel better in whatever way that may be. So it's really interesting to see how it's actually quite creepy in a way how you can see what you've done being real. And it's funny that you mentioned Black Mirror because I really got that from your book. Is that something? Are you a big fan of Black Mirror?
According to my son, I'm fond of old Black Mirror. The newer Black Mirror is very kind of R-rated, more than I thought. But so my son has chosen a few, and he's only 16, but he watches them all. He's chosen a few of Black Mirror for me to watch that aren't too upsetting, that aren't too that aren't too nihilistic or doesn't have too much adult content. As a middle grade writer, I'm most comfortable in the world of middle grade and YA and picture books. I read adult stuff, but I'd rather live in the world of children's literature. It makes me happier.
Oh, I'm completely with you on that one, Sheila. I think I only exclusively read children's books because that's clearly where it is at.
Yes.
Speaking of, actually, so this is part of the book chain, and you are next speaking to Amy McCaw, who wrote Mina and the Undead, which is a YA gothic horror. So, what question should we devise for Amy for you to?
I'm going to show you I'm going to show you Amy's cover. Isn't it fantastic?
So,
my question is, how did she nail New Orleans so much? I've only been to New Orleans once, but this really feels like you're walking down Bourbon Street. How did she lived there? I don't know. This is what I want to explore with her. So Mina and the Undead is set in the 1990s. Somebody working in a kind of like, it reminds me of Edinburgh's Dungeon here in Edinburgh, where you go in and you have like a horror experience. People are jumping out at you. And so she's working in a place like that, except contains a lot of vampires with big Buffy vibes. So I want to know, how did she get New Orleans on the page like that?
Oh my God, yeah, I cannot wait for that interview. That's going to be amazing. And actually, I think my one would be like, I've seen so many people calling for sequels for her book. It's like, we want more. So I suppose mine would be like, tell us, will there be more sequels to Mina and the Undead? Or is it something that she's just going to continue working in? Because I love the idea that vampires are back, I think. And actually, thinking of collaboration, vampire meets technology, Black Mirror something, robot.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine.
I love how the book chain is overlapping us all and each other. And the synergies are always most interesting where things overlap.
Yeah.
There is such obvious overlaps between my book and yours in the online friendship, and I don't know how tech would go with Mina, but that's something that's going to be written.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing what that would be like next week. And so really, I suppose we've just finished off, we've only got 1 minute left on that. I can't believe this has gone so quickly, Sheila.
I know.
Our chat. But so if you just want to finish off, just letting people know where they can buy Friend Me from, really, and where they can find you.
You can come to my website at SheilaMAverbuch.com, and the places that you can buy Friend Me are Waterstones, all major booksellers, independent booksellers. If you're in the US, it's at Barnes & Noble, Target. And yes, please do give it a listen. If you're on Audible, you can even get the audiobook. Fantastic audiobook narrator called Katie Davis.
Yeah, there's an interview with her on your website I saw, which is
she's wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic. So much love here on the chat for you, Sheila. There's lots of people especially talking about your kind of advice on bullying there and how important that was. So thank you so much for joining me on this. It's been an absolute pleasure. And and do join in everyone next week when Sheila carries on the book chain with Amy McCaw next time. Until then, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Grady, Ben and Lizzie survived Savage Island, but can they survive Cruel Castle and take down Marcus Gold in the process? They're surrounded by psychopaths and lethal traps, but now they've got a few tricks of their own. Cruel Castle by Bryony Pierce, out in September 2021.
So we have some green room questions, which I'm going to ask you now. These are all set questions everyone is being asked.
Okay.
I put the wrong questions up. There you go. Where are they? Okay, so as a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or avatar or spirit animal? And apparently it cannot be the character in your book. So no robotic cat.
Oh, okay. Gosh, my mascot. Oh, I'm going to say a bird. It's got to be a robin, because robin is the one that keeps me. I don't know if I told you I write outside a lot. So the robin is the one that's most frequently coming to visit me.
That's lovely. I love robins. Actually, they're extremely territorial, aren't they? So you always just see the same one on time.
Yes, they've been known to attack each other. So yeah, I've never seen that, but maybe that's because I'm a children's writer.
Yeah. Although if you do turn into a robin at some point, it being your spirit animal, then maybe you should watch out for other robins.
I will. Yes, I'll have to go to stake out my territory someplace.
Yeah, good idea. You go bother a writer.
Yeah.
Bro. Okay. And what is your top writing tip?
Cut everything that you have written by 10% if possible, as at a minimum. If it's 2,000 words, try to take out 200 words. If it's a 10-word sentence, try to take out 2 words. It's definitely possible. No, 1 word. It's definitely possible to pare down anything. That's really
good. And does that include changing all the URs to yours with apostrophes?
Yeah, I haven't never had a trouble with punctuation until autocomplete. Autocomplete has ruined my life, and I never meant that apostrophe, get that out of there. But it's the AI that decided to put it in. That's how I can blame on my punctuation mistakes on now.
That's it. Always blame the AI. I think it's a good idea. Bro, that's a great tip. Marvel or DC?
Marvel. Don't even have to think about that one.
No, me neither. I thought everyone would just say Marvel. I mean, I think Thor Ragnarok, amazing.
Yeah.
The Infinity stuff, amazing. It's just funny.
Yeah. No. And yeah, Chris Pratt he's really my spirit animal.
Yeah. I love. Oh my god, I would love Chris Pratt to be my spirit animal. I love that. That's the quote of the day. Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Bugs Bunny. Oh my gosh, Bugs Bunny. Have you seen the rebooted Looney Tunes?
I have not, no. Is it good?
Sarah, so good. It kind of reimagines Bugs Bunny as and Daffy Duck as the odd couple. And Bugs Bunny is a man of leisure because he's a billionaire who has invented the carrot peeler, and now he lives a life of luxury. And his deadbeat friend is Daffy, who just like sucks off him all the time. It's so good. So yes, Bugs Bunny for sure.
You have sold that to me. I'm all over that because I was like, oh, the Looney Tunes. But yeah, that's great. That sounds amazing. And what 3 books would you take with you to a desert island or give to an alien is the other part of this question. So I guess you can choose either.
If I could, I would go to my bookshelf to get them, but I don't want to go away. So one of them is definitely going to be The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel, because she does fiction in a way that no one else can. And look, it's 800 pages, and I'm at no time am I bored. So definitely The Mirror and the Light. I get 3 books.
You get 3. I don't think any of them can be like lots of books within a book, though. I think
no. The Mirror and the Light. We Were Liars by E.L. Lockhart. If you remember that.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, this is terrible. I have to choose between Rebecca Stead and Jandy Nelson. It's going to have to be Rebecca Stead. My biggest inspiration, her book When You Reach Me, was middle grade, that showed me what middle grade can really be. Absolutely fantastic.
What a recommendation. That sounds great. Straight on my TBR.
Hi there, thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the chat. Next week, Sheila Averbuch will be interviewing Amy McCaw, who writes YA vampire stories. So see you then. Bye for now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Instagram, one needs to pat one's robotic cat to stay calm.
That is absolutely terrifying. Oh my God, is it actually? Oh my God, it's actually robotic.